So with Klay Thompson coming back from an injury this season, what should we expect from the Golden State Warriors? What's up guys, it's your boy Absidious back with another video. If you're new here, how about you subscribe and turn on notifications for more NBA quality videos. So if you don't want to miss those, I recommend you to subscribe. But with that out of the way, let's begin. The Warriors had an interesting last season. Before the season even started, Klay Thompson was unfortunately injured. But even with that as a fact, Steph Curry carried the Golden State Warriors to an 8th seed in the Western Conference. But even with Steph Curry having an MVP caliber season, he just couldn't really get them to the playoffs. And I don't blame him, as the team showed their true colors in the play-in tournament. Even though they didn't really need Steph on the defensive side, they were a really good defensive team. They were just not that good offensively. Now granted, James Wiseman was injured, but still, when you got Steph Curry who has to do everything, and sometimes they couldn't really do anything without him. Like even Andrew Wiggins sometimes would not do anything. This team is not special. This team is not good if they can only defend, and maybe over 100 possessions they can score the ball without Steph Curry. Like, if that's your team, it's not a really good team. But we all know things are going to be different next season, as there's going to be a couple of things that will be changed with the roster. Starting first with the additions that they made this offseason. Drafting Kuminga and Moses was a steal. Those two guys are amazing, and I think for the positions that they got in, the 7th pick and the 14th pick, I thought they could have never asked for a better player than those two guys. And then when it comes to free agency, they signed Otto Porter, which if he can stay healthy, he is one of the best role players that you can ask for. They signed Andre Iguodala back. Yes, he's not as good as before, but he can still give you an efficient 10 minutes. And the Mancha Bielitsa adds more versatility to your front court. And yes, they lost Kelly Oubre, but really it wasn't a good fit to begin with, so it doesn't really matter that they lost Kelly Oubre. I think those additions, with the free agency that they got, like Iguodala, Bielitsa, and Porter Jr., and the draft of Kuminga and Moody, I think this team is already better. Since those guys, I think they're going to be significant if they do stay healthy, and they're just as good as we know they can be, at least from last season and from the projections of what we've seen in Summer League from both Moody and from Kuminga. I think those guys are going to be solid rotational players even in the playoffs. So this team already has some players that they can rely on the bench. But number two, how would the guys come back from last season? Is Steph Curry still an MVP caliber player? I think he is. I don't think anybody's going to doubt him. Can Draymond Green be as impactful or more impactful than last season? I do think he can. Can Klay Thompson come back as the same guy? Now here's the tricky one, because it's very hard. We haven't seen him from 2 years ago, so we don't really know exactly what should we expect from him. But I think if he can be 80% of who he is, maybe not athletically as good as he was defensively, but still smart enough to be one of the best defenders in the league. If he can still just at least shoot, not really just play make or dribble, since he's not really known for that, but if he can just at least shoot and defend at a decent level, I think 80% of that, if he could be 80% of what he used to be, then I think this team is going to be solid. I mean, you have an MVP guy, you have a second option type of guy, you have a guy in Draymond Green that can play his role, and you got guys who can improve, like Jordan Poole. He's still young. Damon Lee, he's kind of in his prime. You got James Wiseman who can improve. As I said, Kuminga could be a nice young player. You got Andrew Wiggins who can also improve. So there are some guys who can improve, and there are some guys who can also not improve. But I think most of the guys are going to improve or come back as good as they were last season. The third thing is going to be mid-season moves. Can they trade for a guy like, I don't know, Thaddeus Young, if they really want a guy in the front court? Do they want a guy like Goran Dragic backing up for Steph Curry? If they, can find, some assets that they really want to give up. Like, for example, if they want to trade Gary Payton, for example, Gary Payton Jr., obviously not the Seattle Sonics guy. his son. So if they want to trade Gary Payton Jr., for example, they want to go away from Moses Moody for whatever reason, they got a good amount of trade assets. This team is pretty young, with the exception of the big three. This is a very young team, and there are some holes that they have. So if they want to fix it via trade, they can do that with the trade assets that they have. And also the buyout market, in recent years has been a really vital piece when it comes to building or strengthening a real playoff contender. I mean, look at the Lakers. They were supposed to get the best, quote unquote, free agents in the buyout market in RJ Drummond. Brooklyn Nets, they got Blake Griffin. And in this offseason, there are a good amount of guys that I can clearly see going into the buyout market. Ricky Rubio of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Patrick Beverley if he doesn't work out in Minnesota. I mean, some of the guys are going to want to be in a championship team, and they're in bad contracts, kind of. So some teams could buy them out. And can the Golden State Warriors snatch them from the Los Angeles Lakers, who still have a roster spot from the Brooklyn Nets if they want to make a roster spot from the Milwaukee Bucks? I mean, there's a good amount of guys that are going to be available. Can they snag the best players in the buyout market? Can they also get the best fit? Not just trade for the biggest name, just the best fit. So with those considerations, what do I think the Golden State Warriors are going to be? Honestly, I think they're going to finish top 4. I think they're going to have home court advantage in a playoff series. I don't think it's going to be multiple series, but I do think probably in the 4th seed, because a lot of teams are going to come in injured. The Denver Nuggets are not going to have Jamal Murray. The Los Angeles Clippers are not going to have Kawhi Leonard. And the Lakers, because of them just being old, they're going to be banged up. So they're going to come in a lot of, injuries. And also there's not a lot of special teams. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are healthy, and if they can replicate what they did last season, which I think they can, if Chris Paul doesn't decline heavily, then yeah, I could see them being better than the Golden State Warriors, for example, since in my opinion, they have the best backcourt, second to Steph Curry and Jordan Poole. I mean, you already know Steph Curry is really good. If Jordan Poole could be the duel in the second best backcourt in the NBA. But putting that to aside, you got, the Utah Jazz, who could still be better with development. But in my opinion, I do think in the end they're going to finish 4th seed, probably behind the Los Angeles Lakers, the Phoenix Suns, and the Utah Jazz. I mean, that's an early prediction. I mean, maybe tomorrow I say something different, but for now, I do feel like they're going to finish at 4th seed because they made significant moves, but it's not really that big when it comes to the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, I don't think they're going to go that deep, especially when Klay Thompson, he's not going to come into the beginning of the season. He's not going to have a lot of games. I mean, 50 games is enough. But, even with 50 games, do you really think that, Klay Thompson could instantly come back and be efficient? Can this team perform in the playoffs? I think some of the guys, yes, obviously Steph Curry. I think Draymond Green could be, Draymond Green was always better in the playoffs. Nobody talks about it, but he's basically the John Rondo for the power forwards, especially with his defensive playmaking. And, the playoff things, he's always better for some reason. So, I think those guys are going to be solid in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be going that deep in it, because I think the Lakers, they're probably going to meet them in the second round, and I have the Lakers beating them. So far, early predictions, of course, it will change during the season, but for now, the moves that they can make, the moves that they've made, what we expect from, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson coming back, to the season, whether they're going to improve or not improve, I think they're going to finish 4th with a second round exit. But what do you guys think about my early predictions? Do you think this team is slept on and they should be like the number 1 seed team in the West? Do you think this team is overrated and you think that this team will finish, not even in the playoffs? I want to know, guys, your thoughts in the comment section down below. But that is it for the video. Ab, signing out.